Hybrid reptiles are a bit controversial. Very cool to look at, but is it right or wrong to take two different species, put them together, and make something totally new? Well, in the comments section of the last video, you guys let me know about it, but you let me know too I missed out on some of the coolest hybrid reptiles, and today we're going to talk about 4 more really cool hybrids. I'm Adam, you're watching Wicked's Wicked Reptiles. Stick around. This leopard gecko has a bunch of different genetics in it, right? 4 or 5 different genetics. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about mixing an albino with a pinstripe and you get a, pinstripe albino ball python. I'm talking about you put a ball python with a Burmese python and you stick them together and you get a Burm ball. Something like that, right? And today we're going to talk about 4 that I missed last time, so let's get right into it. Number 4. Carpondros, or green tree pythons mixed with carpet pythons, or carpet pythons mixed with green tree pythons, if you want to go with the designer name. Now, I don't know who created this first, who was the first person to create this morph, but I do know it's been around for a long time. A lot of people in the comments section of the last video, which you can watch right here, by the way, talked about how this was one of the OGs, the original gangsters of hybrid snakes in captivity, and it makes sense. They're both python species. They're both from, well, not the same part of the world at all, really, but these guys do have the ability to interbreed, and they're both semi-arboreal or arboreal in the case of the tree python, so they do spend a lot of their times in the trees, and if you look at them, they look pretty crazy, and they can be pretty varied because carpet pythons are pretty wild looking just by themselves, and there's a bunch of different types of carpet pythons. I guess they all can be interbred with green tree pythons. And then green tree pythons, well, they're mostly green, but they have a little bit of a pattern to them. And when you put them together, you get something really, really cool that spends a lot of its time in the trees, but feels just as at home on the ground as well, which, if they look a little bit more like a green tree python, is kind of weird to see like something that looks like a green tree python slithering around on the ground. And yes, these guys do have giant teeth, because green tree pythons, who eat birds in the wild, and kind of just grab them out of the air, they've got these giant teeth. Carpet pythons are known for having big teeth as well. So don't get bit by a carpondro if you can help it. Alright, number 3. And this is something that's been found in the wild for a lot longer than humans could breed them selectively like this. And what I'm talking about is gabinos, or gaboon vipers times rhino vipers. These guys are kept in captivity. They're bred like that, and they're found in the wild to interbreed by themselves without human intervention. These are both very venomous species, and they do cross over their territories right where they live. So it only makes sense that these guys would interbreed if they're close enough together. And if you look at a gaboon viper and a rhino viper, they look sort of similar. They both have like that horn thing on their nose. In my opinion, gaboon vipers are maybe the most beautiful species of snake, the coolest to look at. They've got that flat head and that really cool kind of dorsal pattern on them. When you mix them together, they look unbelievable. This might be the most beautiful snake on any list I've ever done for this channel. So this is the gabino. Number 2 on this list, I called them blood balls last time. Super balls is what they are, which is just as funny to me. These guys are your ball python and blood pythons mixed together, and they make super ball. So I think these are really cool. They're more common. In my research, they seem to be the most common hybrid that you could possibly have in terms of snakes. And when you mix these two species together, it's possible to get the beauty and the robustness of a blood python, or sometimes Borneo shorttails are bred instead of the blood python. And then also the temperament of a ball python, because if you like ball pythons, one of the things you like is they're pretty easy to handle. They're pretty tame. I really do love all the ball pythons I've got in my collection. The reason I'll never have a blood python is because I don't like getting bit by snakes. And blood pythons are big. They can be up to like 25, 30 pounds. They're very heavy-bodied snakes. They are absolutely gorgeous, but they're known for being a little bit cantankerous. And if you get bit by one, it's not really a lot of fun. So, I mean, if you put them together, you can get the robustness and beauty of the blood python or Borneo shorttail, and the temperament of a ball python, and easy to keep. So, I mean, why wouldn't you want that? I'm not sure who the creator of this was. I'm almost positive this has never happened in the wild before, being that they don't really overlap territories at all. But I do think this is one of the first python species to ever be bred in captivity for the purpose of making a hybrid like this. Alright, number 1 coolest hybrid, and I'm going to put this ahead of everything on the last list I did as well, because I didn't know this existed until I did the research for this video. Number 1, hybrid Galapagos Island marine land iguana, or land iguana hybrid. I don't know how to say it. They're only in one place in the entire world. The Galapagos Islands are pretty famous for having these weird species that aren't anywhere else, but then there is this one island, the South Plaza, and that's where you can find a few specimens of land iguanas and marine iguanas, because this is kind of one of the only places where they cross paths, and apparently they're closely enough related that they can interbreed. Now you'll notice that the land iguana and the marine iguana look pretty similar, but they have unique characteristics. For example, their diet is completely different, right? The sea iguana or marine iguana, there was a big special about this, or a big portion of life, or planet Earth, a few years back about the marine iguana. They dive down, they eat algae down there, which is unbelievably cool. They get too cool, they come back up, they shoot snot rockets of salt out of their nose. It is like the coolest thing. I highly recommend watching these animal documentaries if you've got the opportunity to. And then the Galapagos land iguana, they look similar too, but they're not as dark. They eat vegetation right on land, of course. They've got this yellow stripe down them. Their head is more elongated. So they look different enough where you know for sure they're not the same. And then you mix them, and then I guess from what I understand, there's only like a handful of these that have ever been bred, and by been bred I mean have bred in the wild. They look pretty similar to each other. I mean, they're basically a cross right in the middle of what they look like individually. And as far as I understand, the reason that they can interbreed like this is because when you look down the chain of how the evolution goes of these iguanas in the Galapagos Islands, about 4.5 million years ago, these two split off of a common ancestor. One spends most of its time in the water, and then one spends all of its time on the land. And I guess when you interbreed these guys, when they mix and they create a hybrid, they spend most of their time on land, and they eat mostly vegetation on land as well. And by mostly, I mean only, because they've never been observed going down and eating algae underwater like the marine iguanas do. And of course, like most of these hybrids, they are sterile. Most likely, there's never been a genetic testing, but just like most hybrids, they don't produce sperm or eggs, likely, so therefore they cannot reproduce. And there you go. 4 more really cool hybrids. What do you think? Did I kind of hit right on the head? Should I have added something else? What is it that I missed? And if you'd like a part 3, well, every video idea that I do comes out of the comments section below, so if you want part 3 or something completely different, throw it down there, and I'll get to work. And of course, if you haven't hit that subscribe button already, really appreciate that. And because I do videos twice a week, that means that I'll see you on Thursday.